All right, here is garden vlog number 2. Strawberries. Strawberries have stopped producing now. They're starting to die back. Some of the older foliage. Remember, these guys are biennials. But one of the things I'm doing, I have 2 strawberry beds. I have this one and then that one. But I need to come out here since I've grown wood chips, and these beds have been here for about 8 years, 9 years maybe. So you dig down about 1 inch and it's like black gold, so it's great. But I always come in every year and I try to like top it off, and you got to be careful not to bury the crowns on the strawberry plants or you'll kill them. But I want to keep these ends really moist, really wet, because you can see the runners taken off, because I want this to be a nice lush carpet of strawberry plants again. That one was amazing. It was like this pure green carpet, and these beds are 5 feet by 10 feet, or 5 feet by 12 feet, excuse me. And out of this bed, I picked about 3 gallons of strawberries out of this one bed. It was insane. Like, that's a lot of strawberries. So tomatoes. So a ton of cherry tomatoes. You'll see some of them starting to, I don't know. Oh, there's one right there, kind of going, starting to turn. But you'll just see they're like fully loaded. And these things are actually taller than I am. I'm 6'2", and these things are going crazy. So in this bed is basically years of composted wood chips and chicken manure from my chicken house. Basil. I put basil on the corners of everywhere. The more herbs, here's sage. The more herbs I spread in here, it's like less bugs I have. I was out here watering this morning and there was just baby praying mantises everywhere. It was awesome. So zucchini plants, which you like look down in here and there's a ton of them. I've been picking 2 a day right now, but I think I'm going to start picking 3 a day, and they get to be about 1 foot long, about 4 to 5 inches in diameter. If I let them get any bigger than that, they start splitting. Potatoes are almost ready to start harvesting. So I've got 9 rows this year. Last year I had 6 rows and I harvested 462 pounds. So one thing I do on these, and you'll see how this is kind of mounded up. So here's the path, and it goes up about 9-10 inches maybe to where the plants are. So what I do, as the plants are growing, I only like to leave about 6 inches of potato plant above the surface. So I bring in just, I mean, you'll see this mix here. It's a mix of, it's probably 2-3 year old broken down wood chips out of that pile that I brought in there this year. I've got a couple different piles of wood chips, just different ages on them. And what I do as the plants grow, I bring buckets in here and I just keep backfilling around the plants and keep burying the stalk. Remember, potatoes are like tomatoes, Solanaceae family. So the more of that stem you can bury, the more they grow, more potatoes you get. And it makes digging way easier, because you bring a pitchfork in here and all the soil is so loose because it's only been here for a few months. It makes harvest super fast. So last year, 6 rows, 462 462 pounds. This year there's 9 rows, so I'm hoping for about 600 pounds, just kind of a goal. And the space is right at probably 15 feet by 25 feet, maybe 20 feet. So it's pretty intense growing in a small space. Cucumbers, these are late chives. These chives will get moved out of this bed next spring and into the chive bed, which all that'll be chives. Those are all shallots. I got to start pulling them. There's about 500 shallot plants in there. I started from seed. More tomatoes, basil. There's more basil on that end down there. So this is a bed that I just started last year, and so there's not a lot of activity growing in here. I grew corn in here last year, but I really had to pour a lot of fertilizer on it to get it to grow because it's all wood chips. There used to be like a bush, like a big bush here. It was an ugly bush and it was half dead and it was a mess. Anyway, but this year I threw like some extra okra seeds in here and some beans. So the idea is maybe I'll get some okra, which those are about a foot tall now, and the beans, I really don't care about them. I'm mainly just, it's a legume, it's putting nitrogen in, it's helping breaking stuff down. I'll just turn it under. This is my garlic bed, which all the garlic is now out. There's some beans in here started, just to try to keep some cover going. I don't know if you can see that ladybug, but there's just ladybugs and praying mantises everywhere out here. So more tomatoes. These are about chest height. And this one is just now starting to produce. It's got flowers all over it and it's got some little bitty baby tomatoes. So that's good. These are kind of the first ones I put out. Cucumbers. So these are already starting to produce cucumbers. More cucumbers. There's a basil plant in that corner. More tomatoes. So these are my Roma tomatoes up here. More basil, carrots that I let go to seed. I've got like a family of rabbits, baby rabbits in here, so I'm not really pulling those yet. You'll see this is one of the original beds. All this wood that I have for all these beds I got for free. It all was just like secondhand. It was actually off a building. So you'll see it was already kind of beat up when I got it, but I mean, 10 years of out here, constant, water, weather, elements, it's just rotted away. So this bed will have to be replaced, or some of the boards will. Again, shallots, chives, pepper plants. These pepper plants, I only planted 2 bell pepper plants because we don't eat a lot of bell pepper, but it is kind of nice to have some. But I'm getting like 1 of these a day. And these are like the size of my fist. It's just crazy how much these are producing. More tomatoes up there. You'll see like lettuce that I have going to seed everywhere. I have ducks and chickens, which I kind of like the lettuce just to kind of like grow. It just grows wherever, and I pick it and I give it to the birds and they love it. It's free food. Kale is still growing really well. It doesn't have a bitter taste to it yet, which is kind of surprising because it's July. So it's growing. I have a lot of volunteer marigolds everywhere. Again, I'm a big believer in marigolds and basil because they just kind of mask. They're very, very strong smells. So they just kind of mask. And remember, insects are attracted to smells, not sight. So they smell what they want to eat. And if you can mask that smell, then you don't have to worry about spraying. And then I pulled the cabbage out, and then I brought in some onions just to try to fill this spot. We eat a lot of onions, so got some onions growing in here. My dismal corn this year, came up so nice, and it was about 6-8 inches tall, and then we had a late frost here in Maryland. So I mean, there's parts of it now about chest height, but it's awful. You'll see like all this died back. I even covered it, but it did no good. It was pretty crappy. Mums, I like mums because again, lots of masking smell. Dill, again, masking smell. Some more, these are pumpkins over there. These are squash plants. More tomatoes. These are some tomatoes I had left over, but they seem to be doing really good, especially tomatoes all over them. More dill. A couple cucumber plants were actually just some seeds I had left over I wanted to use up, and it's free space. These are, I have 6 sweet potatoes out here. So I picked up a sweet potato at Food Lion, like, I don't know, back in January, and I always start my own every year. So it's really easy. Cut it, or put it in a jar, it starts sprouting, transfer it from there to, like, I usually grow in 100% vermiculite. It takes off really, really well. Another view of the potatoes. So these sweet potatoes love growing in wood chips. These wood chips here have been here for about 3-4 years. So they just take off. We were getting sweet potatoes last year the size of, like, you know, soccer balls, and it was just crazy. We were taking them to work and people just could not believe it. And they taste just like a regular sweet potato. Didn't have a bad flavor at all. Anyway, this is the garden update for the 4th of July.